Have you ever felt like you're fighting an invisible battle? You have the ambition. You've read the books, maybe you've even listened to people like Napoleon Hill. You set the goals, you create the vision boards, you try to build the habits. But you still feel stuck. Like you're pedaling a bike as hard as you can, only to realize the chain fell off miles ago. You see others accelerate past you, seemingly with ease, and you're left wondering. What do they know that I don't? It's one of the most frustrating feelings in the world. The gap between where you are, and where you know you could be. You push. You strive. But an unseen force seems to pull you back. Keeping you just within reach of your goals, but never letting you grasp them. What if I told you that force is real? That there is a hidden, unwritten rule that's been silently dictating the terms of your success, your entire life. It's not a lack of willpower. It's not a lack of talent. It's a psychological mechanism so deep, and so powerful, most people don't even know it exists. This is what we call the shadow rule. It's the invisible handbrake on your potential. A rule you never consciously agreed to, but one you obey every single day. And it's the single biggest reason why your efforts don't translate into the results you deserve. If you're searching for the keys to unlock wealth and freedom, you're in the right place. Let's open the vault. Because this rule isn't just about what you do. It's about what you secretly believe you are allowed to have. And understanding it changes everything. So, where does this rule come from? And how did it get embedded so deeply into your subconscious mind? The answer might surprise you. And it starts with a memory you've probably long forgotten. That forgotten memory, it's likely not what you think. It wasn't a big, dramatic event. It was probably quiet. Seemingly insignificant. Think back. Picture yourself as a child. Full of unfiltered excitement. You just finished a drawing, built something with blocks, or had a brilliant idea for a game. You run to a parent, a teacher, a person you looked up to. You hold up your creation, your heart beaming with pride. And that person, maybe they were tired. Stressed from work. Distracted. They glance over and say something like, "Oh, that's nice, but can't you see I'm busy?" Or maybe they try to be helpful, saying, "It's good, but you colored outside the lines here." In that moment, your logical child brain doesn't think, "Oh, they're just having a bad day." No. Your emotional mind, your subconscious, draws a much bigger conclusion. It writes a rule. A simple, powerful command. A rule that might say, "My creative expression is an annoyance." Or, "My best effort is never quite good enough." Or maybe, "To be loved, I must be quiet and not take up space." This conclusion, born from a single, forgotten moment, becomes the blueprint. It becomes your shadow rule. And your subconscious mind, in its effort to protect you from feeling that same shame or rejection again, will enforce this rule for the rest of your life. Unless you stop it. That childish decision is still running your life. It's affecting your career, your income, your relationships. It's the hidden reason you procrastinate on that brilliant business idea. It's the quiet voice that tells you not to ask for that raise. So, how do you find this invisible rule that's been operating in the dark for so long? How do you make the invisible visible? It actually leaves fingerprints all over your life. You just need to know where to look. So where do you find these fingerprints? You don't look for them in your moments of success. You look for them in the moments right after. The first clue is what we can call your upper limit. Think about it. You have a great week. You land a new client, you get a compliment from your boss, you feel energized and confident. You're flying high. And then, you do something to bring yourself back down. You pick a needless argument with a loved one. You procrastinate on the next important task. You find yourself endlessly scrolling, numbing that feeling of achievement. That's your upper limit. It's your subconscious thermostat, set by your shadow rule, for how much success and happiness you're allowed to experience. The moment you exceed it, the rule triggers an act of self-sabotage to restore the normal, familiar feeling. And that leads us to the second fingerprint. The recurring negative emotion. What is the feeling you always seem to return to? Is it a quiet anxiety? A feeling of being overlooked? A flare of resentment? That isn't random. That is the emotional home base your shadow rule always tries to return you to. But why? Why would your own mind sabotage your happiness just to return to a negative feeling? The answer is a strange paradox. Your subconscious mind doesn't prioritize being happy. It prioritizes being right. It wants to prove that its core belief, its shadow rule, is correct. If your rule is, I am always overlooked, your mind will subconsciously filter your reality to find evidence of that. It will ignore 10 compliments but magnify one criticism. It returns you to that familiar pain because familiarity feels safer to the subconscious than the uncertainty of success. So you know the symptoms, self-sabotage and a recurring negative feeling. But these are just the effects. To truly dismantle the rule, we need to know the exact phrase. The command itself. There is a specific question you can ask yourself in those moments, a question that will force the shadow rule out into the open. And it's much simpler than you think. So, what is this simple question? The next time you feel that wave of anxiety, that urge to procrastinate on your most important goal, the moment you feel yourself picking a fight for no reason after a big win, I want you to stop. Close your eyes. Take one deep breath. And ask your subconscious mind this question. What am I afraid would happen, if I were to truly and completely succeed? Now, your logical mind will try to answer first. It will say, nothing. That's a stupid question. I'd be happy. Ignore that voice. Wait for the second answer. The quieter, more emotional answer that feels a little strange. A little illogical. Listen for the first phrase that bubbles up from the depths. That answer is your shadow rule. It will sound something like this. If I truly succeeded, my friends would abandon me. If I made all the money I want, I would become a shallow, unlovable person. If I put my work out into the world, everyone would find out I'm a fraud. Or, if I became truly powerful, I would inevitably hurt the people I love. This is the raw fear that has been driving your decisions from the shadows. This is the command that has been secretly governing your life. Just seeing it, naming it, is a revolutionary act. You have taken an invisible force and turned it into a simple sentence. You've dragged it from the darkness of your subconscious into the light of your conscious mind. And now, it's no longer a mysterious puppet master. It's just a thought. And a thought can be challenged. Many people get to this stage and feel powerless, thinking the rule is too strong. But they're missing the most critical step. Because knowing the rule isn't what sets you free. Disproving it is. So how do you begin to dismantle a core belief you've held your entire life? It doesn't start with a heroic effort. It starts with a small, strategic act of rebellion. This small, strategic act of rebellion is not about confrontation. It's about collection. Think of it this way. Your shadow rule is a theory that your child mind created based on very limited data. But your subconscious has spent years treating it as fact. And has only collected evidence that proves the theory right. Your job now is to become a detective for the opposition. Your mission is to gather new evidence. Tiny pieces of proof that the rule is wrong. You don't do this by making a giant leap. That's too scary. That will trigger every alarm in your system. No, you do it with the smallest possible action that contradicts the rule. An action so small, it feels almost insignificant. Let's say your rule is, my voice doesn't matter. Your tiny rebellion isn't to give a speech. It's to simply unmute yourself in a group call and say, I agree, before muting yourself again. That's it. You're gathering one piece of evidence that you can use your voice and the world doesn't end. If your rule is, I must not take up space. Your tiny rebellion is to sit at a table in a coffee shop for 5 minutes. Without buying anything yet. Just allowing yourself to exist in a commercial space without immediately paying for it. You are proving you can take up space, and nothing bad happens. If your rule is, if I were successful, my friends would resent me. Your tiny rebellion is to mention one small, recent win to a trusted friend. Not to brag. Just to share. You are collecting evidence that people can be happy for you. Each tiny rebellion is a new data point. A new entry in the logbook for your subconscious mind. The first time, the old rule will scream in protest. The second time, its voice will be a little weaker. By the 10th time, it's barely a whisper. You are literally creating a new neural pathway. Forging a new trail in your mind that leads to confidence, not fear. This process is powerful, but it can feel slow when the fear is strong. To truly accelerate the change, you can't just disprove the old rule. You have to give your mind a new, better one to follow. So how do you write a new command for your subconscious, a command that it will actually accept? So how do you write a new command for your subconscious? This is not about lying to yourself. It's not about standing in the mirror and repeating an affirmation you don't believe. Your subconscious is too smart for that. It will reject a statement that feels like a fantasy. You can't go from, I'm terrified of being seen, to, I am a world-famous, confident speaker. The chasm is too wide. You need to build a bridge. A new rule that your mind can actually accept right now. Here is the formula. Instead of a bold, unbelievable declaration, you create a statement of becoming. Or a statement of willingness. Let's take our old shadow rule, if I put my work out there, people will discover I'm a fraud. Your new law isn't, I am a genius. Your new law is, even though I am afraid of being judged, I am in the process of becoming someone who shares their work confidently. Do you feel the difference? The first is a lie. The second is an undeniable truth. You are in the process. Let's try another. Old rule, if I make a lot of money, I'll become a bad, unlovable person. New law, I am willing to see what happens if my wealth becomes a tool for good. Or, I am committed to learning how to be both wealthy and generous. This new law becomes your mantra. This is what you practice through autosuggestion. You write it down. You say it in the morning. You repeat it at night. But most importantly, you attach emotion to it. You don't just say the words, you try to feel the quiet confidence of becoming. You visualize yourself taking that tiny rebellion, and feeling good about it. This combination of a believable statement, repetition, and elevated emotion is the language your subconscious mind understands. It is the only way to overwrite the old, faulty code. The shadow rule governs your life by default. This new law allows you to govern your life by design. It is the difference between being a passenger, driven by old fears, and finally, taking the wheel. So, let's bring this out of the shadows and into the light. The force that you thought was an external barrier, the invisible current you were fighting against, has been inside you all along. It was never a monster. It was a misunderstanding. A rule written by a child, enforced by an adult, without question. But now, you know the process. You know how to find it. How to question it. How to rebel against it with small acts of courage. And most importantly, how to write a new law. The shadow rule is not your enemy. It is a compass. It points directly to the area of your life that holds the most potential for growth. The fear it creates is simply a signpost, showing you exactly where to dig for gold. Mastering this single concept is the foundation for everything else. It is the key to unlocking your own potential, your own wealth, and your own freedom. This is one key. But if you want the whole vault, subscribe. Master your mind. And you will master your life.